my brothers and sisters, we have another disturbing trends to discuss today. It's about women's penises. Yes, I said women's penises. A special note, I had to re-edit this video because there was content that, although made some amazing contributions, I felt they were ultimately not helpful and had to be removed. This extended the editing process by several days, and today I read that President Trump has issued a ban on Twitter against trans people serving in the military. I mention this because trans people are human beings. I don't agree with Trump, but I'm not the president and therefore don't get to decide. I'm not against people, but I want only to criticize ideas or concepts that I believe are bad or ill-conceived. The idea of a woman's penis is one of them. Zinnia Jones, in her series of tweets, espouses the idea that referring to a penis as male genitalia is dangerous to trans women. The idea that Zinnia comprehends perfectly that if you declare a penis a male sexual organ, then there goes the entire house of cards that has been sloppily constructed around calling men who present as women as actual women. Many in the LGBTQ community are perfectly fine with these people identifying as trans women, but not are all on board with the redefining of sex so that a man is now a woman. Here is a few of Zinnia's tweets on this subject.
We need to resist this push to misgender trans women using very specifically chosen definitions and applications of biological and male. Referring to a trans woman's penis as male genitals might seem harmless or even common sense. It's not. It's the thin end of the wedge. If we accept the use of terms like male or male genitals for trans women, people now have an excuse to call us partially or fully male. Once the groundwork of trans women are male is laid, that's when they move on to declaring their own definitions of sexual orientation. Lacey's female is sex immediately followed by same-sex attraction is gay. These are not good faith choices of definition based on an honest assessment of the whole of human sexuality.
It appears that the debate is centered around redefining the male sex organ to fit in with the notion of men becoming women or women becoming men, because they choose to do so. Like the Discovery Institute, which is the politically conservative nonprofit think tank best known for advocacy of the pseudo-scientific principle of intelligent design, attempting to undermine scientific reality to promote creationism. This new notion of changing the facts of biology to fit another dangerous idea, that is, we can, whenever we choose to, change our biological reality. It's amusing that Zinnia mentions wedge because the Discovery Institute also has a wedge theory. Zinnia envisions a war with biological reality. I want to tell you a little story about people getting along. Like good old Mr. Rogers said in his PBS children's TV show, it's not the clothes you wear, it's not the toys you have, it's you, I, like. And all these decades later, this is solid advice for not judging people on how they appear or what they own. Most normal, fair-minded people get this. Mr. Rogers had his little choo-choo train, and we are driving it off a fairly steep cliff known as sanity. If you want to find out where society is heading, check this Twitter exchange. Sean asks,
isn't trans sex inherently queer? If I were having sex with a trans woman that had a penis, and I stimulated that penis with my mouth and anus, it would fall under Q.
To which Shay replies,
nope.
Shay then adds,
if you're a cishet man having sex with a woman, you are having straight sex.
Well, this sounds like good advice from Shay up until here. A man having sex with a woman sounds good, right? I somehow get the feeling that Sean isn't totally satisfied with this exchange, so he continues.
Something about sucking a dick just feels queer to me though.
At this point we need someone to make sense of a very confusing situation. This is where Sasha comes to our rescue.
Sean, well, it's not. It's a woman's penis. It would only define as gay if you were a woman as well.
It's getting too confusing. So I bet if we went searching the Google for some answers, maybe we'd find some common sense. Yes, the first thing I found out about women's penises was the extremely rare condition of a woman born with both genitalia. This falls so far out of the discussion. It's not like half the population was running around with both sexual organs. Friday nights would be a blast, wouldn't it? But I did find someone that suggests they know what they're talking about. Maybe we'll gain some clarity.
There's really not a lot of resources out there for trans people, especially trans people who aren't straight. Most of the information that I've come across when trying to research having sex as a trans woman talks about having sex with men. And that's great because there definitely needs to be resources for trans women who have sex with men. But I'm very gay, and so that's not very useful to me. So I want to be that resource for you, hopefully. Because most of the time when people think of lesbian sex, it's between two cis women. But lesbian sex can also happen between two trans women. It can happen between a trans woman and a cis woman. It can happen between a non-binary person and a woman. And the experience of trans women and non-binary people who have penises is a lot different than the experience of trans women who have vaginas.
So you're losing me there, Riley J. Dennis. When most people think of lesbian sex, it's about two women, and there's a mighty fine reason why they think this. That's because lesbians are females who experience romantic love or sexual attraction to other females. You can call yourself whatever you choose to, Riley. It's a free country, and never before in history has there been a time and place when people can express themselves any way they desire without fear of penalty or death, unless you live under Sharia law. But that's another beast. We're talking about the civilized part of the world where Riley J. Dennis can make YouTube videos and say pretty much anything Riley wants to say and even make money or develop a following from it. But this golden age of openness and acceptance of any stripe does not mean we can invent new meanings for words whenever we want. Words do have meaning because if they didn't, we'd be lost in an insane postmodernist hell where definitions for any word would be as fluid as the genders you are inventing.
This is because I'm not telling lesbians that they can't be lesbians. If you're a woman who only likes women, go ahead, identify as a lesbian. But some women have penises, and if the fact that some lesbians might be attracted to those women offends you, it's because you don't think trans women are real women.
No, it's not as much they don't think that trans women are real women, although some radical feminists as well as others do think that. It's a matter of biological reality. If you want to stay tethered to that same reality, then you accept that, unlike hetero persons, some people are attracted to the same sex. We get that. It's not new. Most of us also accept the reality that any man or woman not only can feel attracted to the same or opposite sex, but also can feel that they themselves are the opposite sex. Deep down inside, you are the only person in the world that knows how you feel. We're back into Mr. Rogers territory again. Excluding the exceptionally rare incidents of people born with abnormalities, you must also accept the fact that we are born with one set of plumbing or the other. Unlike people who live under truly repressive regimes, you happen to live in a society that is okay with you identifying as anything you damn well please. I first want to reiterate that I have no problems with how you want to identify as. That's your personal call. So let us toss away all this postmodernist dross and get to the heart of the matter. When you are born as a male with a penis or a woman with a uterus and a vagina, you are also born with XY or XX chromosome, respectively. You can wear whatever clothes that suit your fancy, cut your hair short or grow it long, wear makeup and even have surgeries, but you will never change the XX or the XY. It is biological reality. Of course, nowadays we have alternate realities. One is the reality of how I feel things should be, and that goofy one colloquially known as science. On the website federalistpapers.org highlights the way some people think today about a woman's penis.
To justify why a penis must be called male genitals, you would have to provide an additional argument from something other than science.
I'm sorry, Zinnia. Science, it's going to have to be biology, zoology, whatever. But how do you go about explaining something? Forget reality. The world is how I want it to be. Zinnia has some pretty outrageous tweets shown on the site. Links below in the description if you want to read all of them, but this one stands out.
I don't believe the blanket claim of straight men don't want to be with someone who has a dick. Turns out touching a trans woman's body or genitals is probably way less of an issue than most people think it is. It's absolutely possible to work through this. It's a dick? Yes, a woman's. It's part of her body.
We've heard this argument a lot lately, mostly from people who identify as trans women online. One of them has unwittingly contradicted this entire argument of personal choice in getting past your innate biology with this short video clip. So, you were just born this way, so why are trans people like Riley J. Dennis and the rest of the bunch attempting to convince us to do what is against how we were born? To be safe, they always toss in the glib mention that we don't have to have sex with people with the wrong genitals, then attempt to convince us that we should be open to a woman's penis because otherwise we'd be transphobic monsters. And they mock us when we bring up the argument that what they are saying is akin to the religious people thinking that gay conversion therapy works.
I think the main concern that people have in regards to dating a trans person is that they won't have the genitals that they expect. Because we associate penises with men and vaginas with women, some people think they could never date a trans man with a vagina or a trans woman with a penis. But I think that people are more than their genitals. I think that you could feel attraction to someone without knowing what's between their legs. And if you were to say that you're only attracted to people with vaginas or people with penises, it really feels like you're reducing people just to their genitals. You're kind of objectifying them, but you're thinking of them more as genitals than objects.
Biology versus social constructs. Male human beings have never been capable of producing young through the process of live birth. This is a reality. However, if you infect our language with postmodernist nonsense and words no longer have meaning, then a woman can identify as a man, then give birth to another human. Then you have a man giving birth. But this is a nonsensical play on words. This new breed of gender identity politics is attempting to write women out of the history books.
Genitals, gonads, hormones, chromosomes, secondary sex characteristics, these things are real and exist in people. But male, female as two distinct categories is a system we made. Biosex is a classification we invented. These aren't inherent in nature.
It is obvious that the Dennis J. Rileys and Zinnia Jones of the world, both men identifying as women, are constructing this entire argument purely on the basis of the issue of discrimination, which is a moral issue, not a biological one. Their arguments are seemingly well-intentioned but selfish. They want the world to buy into their new illogic of biology, which is analogous to how creationists want to rewrite the science of biology to deny the reality of evolution, which effectively is the same outcome these third-wave intersectional feminists are attempting to achieve. Their argument in a nutshell: if you deny the reality that I have constructed, then you will open the doors to abuse and discrimination, putting the burden on you to accept whatever they decide is truth and declaring guilt for wrongthink if you dare to disagree. In other words, I have decided this based on how I feel, and you are a rotten transphobe if you disagree.
This video is for the people who say, yes, trans women are women, but they're still biologically male. Because while their intentions might be good, the impact that these words have is actually very harmful. Trans women are not male, and saying that they are allows some people to justify the mistreatment of trans people.
Like Mr. Rogers, we should learn to like and accept you just as you are, no matter how much you torture logic and reality to get there. Remember, how we were born is not wrong. This is Ashley, who is a Jamaican transgender woman, and Ashley says,
as a child growing up, I always felt like a girl. I was always uncomfortable to do boy stuff, but as I grow older I realize I am definitely a girl on the inside. Everything I do is natural. I was born this way.
either you are born one way or you are not. Choose.